Live from Beit Shemesh and broadcasted around the world, you are listening to the Frum Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Nahum Kligman. Interviews and advice from Jewish entrepreneurs from around the world. Listen, learn, be Matzliach.
Hey, and welcome to episode 3 of the Frum Entrepreneur.
Where's the intro music?
The intro music happened already.
How come I didn't hear it?
Because we were...
Dun, 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 dun.
And we have a very special guest for you here today by the name of Rabbi Tuli Klein.
I like intro music.
I know, but we had
No,
the
'cause it puts me
intro
into the
gets
mood.
put in after.
Dun, 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 dun. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I'm used to it. This podcast have a very special guest, as you can...
Da, 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 da. Sorry.
And I just want to apologize to my audience in advance, but I'm telling you this is going to be a podcast worth listening to because this man has a story to tell. Rabbi Tuli...
And sing about.
And sing about. He's a big singer.
Da, da, da,
As you
da, 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 da.
may have-
I like the intro music. No, but
got-
it's very psychable. It makes you feel like you're in camp.
Ah,
Da, da, da,
and speaking of camp, so Rabbi Tuli Klein is one half of the Klein duo who started and founded Camp Raninu.
You liked that segue, did you not?
That was a fantastic segue.
You didn't know where it was coming from.
I hope you can do all my segues for all my podcast
Thank
shows.
you very much.
Yeah, I did not know we were going.
Da, da, da. That's not our camp theme music, but it'll work now.
Right, first of all, I came up with some great songs back in the day.
Yes, you did. Yes.
And we're going to talk about that in just
I'm
a minute.
sure we will.
I just
we'll
want
probably
to continue
focus on that a lot more than what you really want to
because
focus on.
yes, we're going to get to that because I think it's very important that people should know that my skills as a camp counselor helped make me a podcast host today.
And being your camp director, I will take full credit for that. Without me, you'd be nothing.
Only if the podcast is successful.
Da, da, da. Sorry, go ahead.
All right, not a problem. Anyway, we are here, right? Tuli is actually a very close friend of mine now. We're just going to jump into it because I think the whole intro to this started getting messed up a little bit. But I first met Tuli when I was, I think, my second year in Israel.
No, you met me.
No, we don't want to go to that. I was going to say we have an earlier story. The first time I actually worked for you.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know if you want to go into that story.
Well, it's up to you because it's going to embarrass you.
Well, being is something I did 30 years ago. 30 years ago. No, it must have been less. Probably about 27 years ago. Would that still embarrass me today?
We could find out.
Should we tell the story?
It's up to you. I think it's not worth telling.
It's not worth telling.
Not really.
There's nothing to gain from a business standpoint. I mean, there is a lesson there.
What's the lesson?
Don't smoke in a house that you're babysitting.
That's pretty much true, right?
Right? Like if you're going to babysit, don't smoke in the house.
But I think if you told the story about you smoking in somebody's house when you babysat for
Not
the
that I
first
would
time,
ever do such a thing.
No, but nobody would believe it. So maybe we should just move on. Let's just move on.
Yeah,
nobody would believe that.
We're not going to tell that
People
story.
would go, that's obviously they just they just fabricated that for the podcast.
Right. Now,
which we're not interested in. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
In any case, so what happened was after my second year in Israel, I wanted to come back for the summer, and I was looking for a job. And I heard about this new day camp called Camp Raninu.
Actually, it was Raninu Day Camp at the time.
Oh, now it's Camp Raninu?
Yes.
Oh, because it's not a day camp anymore.
That's right.
Okay, it was called Raninu Day Camp.
Da, da, da,
we put the rah-rah in you.
We always have.
And first of all, so I remember going for an interview at the Old Hill Academy in Passaic.
Yes.
Back when it was on Broadway. And we sat in the library there. And I thought I was a shoo-in. I was very good as a babysitter, not knowing or remembering that I actually did babysit for his kids.
I guess you could say you were a smoking babysitter.
I was the best
you were just
babysitter.
Smoking.
I always wondered why you never hired me back as babysitter because the Lovies,
exactly why. No,
the Lovies, the Bukins, they all hired me back.
Yeah, but
they loved me.
Well, now you know.
The Bayesians, I love
smoked in
the
the bathroom. Hello.
I only did that. If I did that, was only in your house.
Yes,
I was having a bad night. Your kids were crazy,
and that's why I didn't hire you back.
But yet you hired me to become a counselor.
Yes.
In your day camp.
Because your mother begged me.
She did not beg you.
She begged me.
That's not true.
She did.
My mother called you?
She begged me.
I said, please. You realize I was I must have been 19, 20 years old at the time.
Right, that's right.
And my mother called you and begged you to take the job.
That's right.
So the whole reason why your camp was successful because of me was because of my mother?
Yes.
Did she really call you honestly?
Yes.
And she said, please take him?
Yes. She sung your praises.
Yeah.
And she said, I will not be disappointed. And I said, this is on you. She says, okay, I'll take it. And she had full confidence in you.
And so that's it. I never knew that part of the story.
Well, we don't want to fracture your very sensitive ego.
Well, I mean, so I get accepted to this camp. Yeah. I'm sorry, you did interview me. Was that before you interviewed me or after
interview you? No, this was after.
After the interview, you had a Havamina?
Very much so.
Really? Because you did tell me to take out a kid's book and ask me to read it.
Yes.
Which I was shocked.
Right.
They actually had, please read this as if you're reading this to a bunch of campers.
No, only because your mother indicated to me that you're great with kids, but you really don't know how to read.
I've been reading since...
Yeah, right. Okay, well, then I didn't believe her on that.
So that you tested my reading skills.
Yeah, no.
So anyway, so you come back home and you speak to your wife, Leah.
And I said to her...
And you said to her, you'll never guess... I remember... Okay, go ahead.
That's right. No, that's it. You can't believe who I interviewed. And she said right away, the jerk that smoked in the bathroom? I said, stop it. How did you know? She
didn't say that.
She would never use the word jerk.
She would never... Right.
She's too kind for that.
She's much too kind.
She had no idea. Anyway, so I told her who it was, and she was like hesitant. But she said, listen, if you feel that he'll be good, I'll go with it.
And you felt that'd be good?
Yeah, I did, actually.
You were pretty desperate, though. I think it was like a week before camp was opening, no?
No, we had plenty of time, and I just had the right vibes about... Yeah, I was desperate, actually.
I remember.
Yes.
So anyway, so we get to this day camp, Raninu day camp. This is how long ago this is? This is 24 years ago?
24 years ago, yeah.
24 years. Okay,
right.
Just a quick. The camp was a day camp for 6 years, and now we're in our 18th year.
As a girls' camp.
As I like to say, we're like I'm part of it still.
Yeah, but you're not.
But I feel like I am.
Yeah, but really not.
But I feel like I am, so that's why we're calling it We're. So 18 years in the girls' camp. So this business, first of all, running any type of company or business for 24 years is a tremendous mileage, to do.
It's all siyata d'shmaya.
It was all siyata d'shmaya, 100%.
From the first day.
Well, I mean, from when you hired me.
Yeah, and it continues to be like that, right.
Amazing. So I want to, but it's definitely not like people think you run a summer camp. So it's the easiest job in the world. You start a month before camp starts, and you start a month out, and then you a little bit clean up afterwards. And
right. The hardest thing, right? People ask me. This is the ongoing joke. People ask me, "What do you do a whole year?" I say, "I try to come up with good answers for that question."
No, it's true. People think that it's like, but this is a full year, full-time business.
We start working on. Let's say now we're going into 2015.
Right.
We start working in 2014, in the middle of the summer on 2015. In other words, simultaneously while we're running 2014, you're already working
on 2015.
That's right.
And it is a full-time endeavor. I mean, especially if you want to run a top-line camp and you want to make sure that everything is in order, I can imagine that it's a tremendous. I mean, I know firsthand from what I've seen on the outside, it's a tremendous amount of work.
Right.
Now, before we jump into, just a little bit about the day camp. So, first of all, what made you start a day camp? What was the plan? I know you had your uncle had a camp.
Okay,
Manavu,
right. So I was a Rebbe during the year.
What school?
Manhattan Day School.
Right.
Which I was working there. I had a nice Rebbe job there, and I had nothing to do during the summer. I wanted to make some extra income. My family was growing, and at the time, I had been a counselor in my uncle's camp for a long time, and camping was in my blood, so I really enjoyed it. So I figured, okay, we'll take a crack at it.
That was Manavu.
That was Manavu, right.
Who's your uncle?
Tuli Klein.
Tuli Klein.
Right. Camp Manavu. So I was a counselor there, and then I became a division head, then I became a head counselor, and then I got married, so my uncle said, you're out of here. That's it. You can't stay anymore because we have no room for you and your wife and children and stuff like that. So I said, we'll give this a shot, and we started very slow. We rented a public school here locally. Didn't cost us a lot of money for the rent.
But it wasn't so local. Where was it?
No.
You were living in Passaic at the time?
Right. We started off very locally. And we started very slow. I think the first year we had 100 kids, boys and girls. I mean, they were separate, but it was boys and girls.
Right.
And, we did the best that we could. We tried to run it as much as we could as a sleepaway camp. Busing was a new thing for us, which my wife is very technically savvy when it comes to these things, time-wise. And I'm not such a time guy, but she's like very time-oriented, so she picked up that slack.
What do you mean you ran it as a sleepaway camp?
In other words, everything that we did, I just tried to transform Manavu into my day camp.
Uh-huh.
So we went on crazy
So basically
trips.
you had an overnight camp mindset
right.
while running a day camp.
Right, which is what everybody does today, but I think we were in the forefront of it at the time. Mm-hmm. And people liked it. We weren't the cheapest, but we weren't the most expensive, so the pricing was right. And after the first year, word got around that there's this really new great idea. Kids are having a ball. We had them for longer than most camps did. We held them because we wanted to give them a better time, so it took more time out of our day. Another thing that I did was very careful with who I hired.
For the most part.
Right. And also, I hired professional Rebbeim who also doubled as counselors, and these were married guys for the most part.
Right, there was Rabbi Strasfeld, I remember.
Right. So this cost us money up front, but the payoff was great because the parent felt now that they weren't just giving their children to 14-year-olds. They had married men who also were young at heart, so they were teaching them, and they were also, being their counselors and division heads and stuff. So that made a big difference also. That gave the parents, a good feeling of confidence that there was safety involved, which was always very important.
And so the camp grew. I mean, first of all, starting off camp with 100 kids is fantastic.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I may be exaggerating, it may be less. It's such a long time ago. I don't remember exactly what it was. But we did okay the first year. We didn't make any money, but, we were happy with the response. And we knew that more people would come the next year,
Right. And the next summer, how much did you increase, you would say?
I think we doubled in size.
Double in size.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which was very good.
And we're still in the same public school?
I think we moved to a larger public school the next year. I think we contacted the public school system and said, look, we can't stay there. We got to move to a bigger place. So they said, okay, fine. So they moved us to a larger location.
Is that when did we have go-karts? I remember that was like a huge thing.
So that was, I think, the third year.
That was maybe the third year.
So maybe the first 2 years we were in the first place, and then we went to this other place. Right?
Okay.
Right.
So that was a larger place. And after that, and then the fourth year...
And then the fourth year, we moved to Suntan Lake.
Suntan Lake, that's what it was. Right. I remember that's when, you must have tripled in size. By
then we went. Then
we had a real campus with baseball fields and.
Right. Then we had about 500 kids.
500 kids in your fourth year.
Right, and we also built a pool.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So wait. So how did that work from a business aspect? You invested the money, and it was still who owned the campground?
Interestingly, the person that owned it, the original owner, I think he was a sports announcer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was a sports announcer, or maybe he was a boxing announcer, something like that. His name he was not in any way, form, or shape, and any connection to religion at all.
Okay.
He was a Jewish guy, of course. His name was Tuli Klein.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Your son's name is...
My son's, right. He married, right. He married a shiksa.
Okay.
And his son's name was Robbie Page,
right?
Who we never had the guts to tell, by the way, you're not Jewish, because he always thought that he was Jewish. But okay, fine, didn't make a difference. So we dealt with him, and they charged us rent. And after the first year, we were busing to a pool. And after the first year, we realized that,
right, where was that? That was out of college.
Right, Montclair State.
Montclair State, right. I remember that.
Right. So we felt that if we could sign a few-year contract with him, it would be worth it for us to put in our own pool. First of all, we'd save the money on the busing.
Right.
So that we would cut that in half.
Sure.
The pool cost, I don't remember. I have an idea what I think it cost, but I don't want to, maybe it was $75,000.
$75,000. And how long? Wait, this is going into the fourth year?
Fifth year.
This was ready for the fifth year.
Right.
So you invested $75,000. You must have had a contract for how many years?
We had a contract for 2 years.
You put $75,000 in
because we weren't
for 2 more years?
Right, because the busing back and forth to the pool and paying for the pool almost was the same as just building one.
Wow, okay.
Right.
And so going into the fifth and sixth year, first of all, I remember the camp was just phenomenal. People, and I always did focus on staff, the highest quality. I remember that was something that was very important. I'm not just saying that, for myself, but first of all, we just got to get something clear and straight, because yes, it is true. Who was the best counselor in all your years? It's only 6 years of the day camp, but who was the best counselor that you had in those 6 years?
I can't really remember.
No, seriously, if I threw out a couple of names.
Go ahead.
There's always 2 names that are thrown out. First of all, you had a lot of great counselors.
Right.
David Ehrlich was awesome. Very artistic. I'm still very close to him today.
Yes.
And Nachum Kligman, of course.
Who?
Nachum Kligman, very innovative as a counselor, coming up with, the Motzei Tisha B'Av shave Nachum's head.
I remember one
activity.
thing, now that you mentioned Nachum, I remember one thing that he did. He wanted to do something for Color War. He wanted to make a banner, and he wanted to make it completely out of glass. And I told him what's going to happen is, first of all, you're going to cut yourself in 1,000 pieces, and it's going to be dangerous for the kids. And second of all, it's never going to stick. So you're never going to be able to glue everything. And he said, no, I'll be able to do it. So I said, okay, fine. So he made this big mosaic out of glass. I think he cut himself in about 100 places.
Gorgeous. Totally. And every cut was worth it.
Yeah, and most of the glass did fall off within.
But it was
the
after
first
Color
day.
War was over.
Yeah, he got no points for that.
But yet, the 2 years I was Color War General, I won both times, which was still something,
But that has something to do with your mother again.
What?
Yes.
You're lying. My mom.
Yes. No, I didn't.
No.
I don't want to hurt your ego, but really,
I won Color War. I was Color Warning General 2 years in a row.
Right.
First year, first of all, I went up against Effie Weissmandel.
Right.
And whose brother I happen to be closer now is Zevi Weissmandel.
Oh, okay.
Who was an accountant and also a caterer in Ramat Beit Shemesh.
All right. Oh, he lives there?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't live there. He comes every day.
Right.
Good
but
question.
So I got closer with his brother now. But Effie was considered the hot shot, counselor. I think he has his own camp now, as Camp Raninu that he started, I guess, 20
a while ago. Yeah,
it was a while ago. It was after the day camp closed. But he was always. I always felt like I was going head to head with him.
Mm-hmm.
But he really, when it came down to it, the year of Color War, when I was Color War General versus Effie,
Mm-hmm.
I remember, I did win and took that title from him. And then the next year, I was Color War General again. He was my lieutenant.
Mm-hmm.
We went up against these two hotshot guys that were coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot their name. Do you remember who those guys were?
No.
I don't even remember. Obviously, since they lost Color War, they're really probably, I don't even know what they're doing today. But I just remember that was a fantastic time. When you run Color War, it just stays with you like forever. And that's something I wanted to touch on. What is it about summer camp that is so nostalgic for people? That I went to Eagle Country Day Camp back in the day, back when I think it was Route 59.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those summers and camp in general just becomes part of our memories that really last forever.
So the answer is simple, and this is what we've seen in Camp Raninu for girls as well. This is really the key. When you're in school, let's say, so you have 10 subjects. If you do well in 9 out of the 10 subjects, and you come home with a report card where you did not do well, let's say, in math, so your whole focus and your parents' whole focus and everything else is on why didn't you do well on math? And that just wears you down. In camp, it's just the opposite. In camp, all you need to be good is in one thing. You know what that one thing is?
Having fun?
No, that one thing is whatever you are good at. So it's all about you. So when you have 15 or 20 U's in a bunk and the counselor and the junior counselor are focusing on bringing out that best in you, you feel so amazing about yourself, and the good counselors will find that in you. We don't believe that there's good in every child, and our counselors look for that. And when you come out after 4 weeks together with all of your friends and you're having a ball and you really feel good that you did something good in what you are good at, that's gold.
That's why those memories last forever.
Yeah, because you can't stop thinking and feeling great about you and yourself and
funny,
everybody around you. It's all about happiness in camp.
When I was a counselor, my number one goal, and I came in every day, and you inspired me in this, and that is that it was all about the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And every day I came and I said, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
I'll remember to this day, what can I do that will create a memory for this kid that will last forever?
Mm-hmm.
And that was my intention every moment of being a counselor. Was all about the kids, all about giving them an experience that they're going to remember forever.
Right.
And it's funny, when I got engaged,
mm-hmm.
and I guess this is going back. This is probably 5 or 6 years or after I left Raninu,
mm-hmm.
and I was walking with my Kala in Brooklyn. And there were kids across the street that were yelling, Nachum, here, Nachum, how are you? Like, even years later, my kids still remembered me.
Now they're your creditors.
No,
and now you're ignoring them. Nachum, who is that? They pay no attention to that man.
I have no idea who they are.
No idea, right. My name's not even Nachum.
But it's an incredible feeling to know that all these years later that, I had an impact on the kid. And Raninu had an impact on all the kids that went to Raninu.
That's right.
That even when they're telling their children, you're still going with the girls' camp, but even the day camp, people still remember it, with tremendous fondness.
Right.
So after...
We got a lot of hate mail, by the way.
What do you mean? Because of me?
No.
Oh.
We got a lot of hate.
This is true, you mean?
We got a lot of hate mail years later after we closed the day camp, which we didn't want to close it. We had no choice because...
We're going to get to that in a minute.
Well, I can tell you right now because they just sold the property. People that we were renting from sold the property to Home Depot for $32 million. And they didn't even give us a chance to counter. That's a joke. Thank you.
No, but wait, so that's what happened. So the camp is at the highest point. You got 600-700 kids.
Put in a pool.
Put in a pool for $75,000.
Riding high.
Things riding high. Everybody loves the camp.
Right.
Everybody thinks it's going to be around forever.
Right.
And you get a notice, hey, we just sold for $32 million to Home Depot.
Right.
You guys are out of here.
We're out of here, right.
When did you find that out, and how'd you respond?
Before the heart attack or after?
Yeah.
Robbie Page called us and said, listen, we got an offer on the property. We're going to take it. They had been running this for a long time. Their luck was in the right spot. They opened up Route 23. The city opened it up, made it into a superhighway. They were sitting on gold. So
you knew going in that they were upfront with you that, hey, we may sell this property?
No, they didn't say that, but they never signed a long-term contract with us.
So there was nothing you could do, really?
Right, nothing.
So then you basically had...
Except beg them and cry.
And did that work?
No, not at all, actually. No, 32 million reasons that it didn't work.
So when did you find this out? You must have been in plans for the next summer
So we
already.
found this out, actually, before we opened up the 6th year. So we knew that was already our last
You knew
that.
Okay.
Right. And I spent many, many hours and days trying to find a different place. but there was no place.
Because you needed now a place that had a pool. I mean, you needed we needed
a big place. I couldn't go back into a public school anymore.
Right.
We were way past that. So that's where I was.
So at what point did you guys decide that, hey, did you right away realize you were going to transition into a girls' summer camp? Or never? So you closed Raninu. You thought that was it?
No, I didn't close it. I was desperately looking for another place,
Right. And what happened when you realized?
Well, so then this is where Hashem came into the picture again, because we were registering a girl in April, and she was actually an older girl, and she had been with us a few years before, and then she disappeared for a few years.
Right.
And I have no idea why I asked her this following question, because I never pry into other people's business. They could do whatever they want.
Right.
I was talking to her mother. I said, oh, by the way, why is your daughter, who's 14 years old, wanting to sign up again for a day camp, and where has she been? She says, well, she was in a camp for the last 2 or 3 years, and it's a sleepaway camp, and they just let us know that they're not opening this summer.
Oh, wow.
So I said, what? So she said, yeah. I said, what was the name of the camp? She gave me the phone number, and I called them up, and I said, I heard you guys not opening this summer. They said, yeah. I said, are you interested in selling? And they said, actually, yes.
Selling what, the land or selling?
The camp. I mean, the camp was we weren't going to buy the camp off them. I mean, we were just going to buy the property with bunks and all the other stuff.
Okay.
So he said, yeah, sure. So
was it a frum camp? No.
It was a frum camp. It was a frum girls camp. It was more modern.
Right.
But who cared? I didn't care. What did I care? I wasn't going to take their...
No, but it's a big risk. I mean, you're hearing that a sleepaway camp is closing down. What makes you think that, hey, they're probably closing down? If they're making tons of money, they're not closing down.
Right.
So, I mean, that you're saying, hey, they're closing down.
Right.
They're probably, losing money, but I think that I could do this better.
Right.
That was the thought pattern?
That was exactly. That's right.
I mean, if there were more modern camps, you had a different target market.
Right.
But did you do any market research? Like, what made you think?
No, because I felt, first of all, I had, now I had 6 years of experience running a camp.
Right.
And I felt that, I remember sitting at the edge of my bed and my wife coming into the room, and she was saying, I don't really want to do this. So I said, okay, you don't have to do it, but I'm going ahead with it.
Really?
That's what happened.
She's always working. I mean, she's nonstop working.
I mean, she's not a camp person, and she had enough. She said, you know what? We had 6 years. It was good. Let's do something else. I don't have anything else that I really had any idea of doing.
Right.
So this was it, So I wasn't going to give up my Rebbe job, but I said, okay, let's jump in, and we did.
And does she regret that still, or?
There are times that she does, because it's just an awesome... I mean, the work for a sleeper camp is just much more overwhelming than a...
You're responsible 24/7.
It's just
for 8 weeks.
It's just so much more expansive. There's just so many there's so many details that you never have in a day camp, and especially even during the summer itself. A day camp, you're shut at 6, you go home, and that's it. You just throw your feet up and wait for the next day.
Right.
Here in sleeper camp, you're there Friday, Shabbos, nights, mornings, Tisha B'Av, Shavasa B'Tammuz. Doesn't end. And you always have to come up with something new, something exciting. You do. I'm noticing now more that a lot of kids are going where their friends are going, and the thing that really concerns me over the last few years, I've noticed that there's no allegiance anymore to camps.
Really? I mean, someone used to be, you go to camp and you stay there for
and you stay there, you made your friends, you went back year after year, this is my camp, that kind of thing.
Right.
I thought it was a thing, just a girl thing. It's everybody. Boys also. Boys, everybody's jumping all over the place. Everybody wants to taste everything.
So that's actually, I think
that's the big challenge today.
That's very interesting. I mean, that may have to do a lot with, the generation that we're in now.
Right.
Where people are just trying different things and there's no loyalty to anything. And
they can't keep their focus for more than 5 seconds.
It's a shame. I mean, I'll tell you, I know that Raninu, I mean, even from back when it was a day camp, and I know from the reputation as a girls' overnight camp, that you guys, when you're finding your niche wasn't just a religious girls' camp, because there were other religious girls' summer camps. I think your niche was in the best possible summer experience for a frum girl. Right? You did everything way above, and even with the day camp, that you went beyond what was normal for what you could get. You weren't looking, what could we get away with? You were always looking at, how can we make this the best experience possible?
That's right.
Was that a conscious decision, or is this...
That's just me. That's who I am. I can't do less than my best, and I want to be able to look everybody in the face and say that I gave you everything of myself.
But I'm saying, even with the food, you could get away with camp food, but you guys came up with, I mean, you hired chefs, you hired...
Well, that's not true. We have a very good cook, but she cooks very campy, but she's an amazing cook, and she's always trying new things. So in the last few years, we've developed quite an extensive menu, not a fancy menu, because that doesn't work. You could serve fancy food in camp, the kids won't touch it. You could serve a nice piece of fish, which we would say, oh, wow, what a nice piece of fish.
Right.
They're going to go, seriously? We're not eating this.
They want pizza. They want pasta. They want
but you have to make
French
it fun.
toast.
Right, but you have to make it fun, and you have to make it, themed and stylish and stuff like that. But it has to be for kids. It can't be for adults. And that's the thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and that's what she really works on. Because
I think that's an important.
She's not 25 years old, but she's always, poking around. What are the kids eating now? There's some very cutesy restaurants that are themed for kosher restaurants that are themed for kids. She's always in there. Let's see what they're doing now. Let's see what. He happens to be a parent of ours, so that works a little bit in our favor also.
Right.
One of the very kitschy type of food places. But that's really what it is. You have to keep it. I mean, we keep very high standards. Not that we have to, and not to talk badly about anybody else, but we really are top of the line, and not in a snobby way. We're just top of the line because that's who we are, and I can't see myself doing it any other way.
I think you were just touching on an important business lesson for everybody, and that is know who your customer is. And your customer really isn't the parents. The customer are the kids, because if the kids are having a good time, if you're catering to the kids, it's not about making the parents happy. It's about making the kids happy. Because when the kids are happy, the parents are automatically going to be happy. They're going to tell their friends, and everybody's going to want to go and have this amazing experience.
Well, that's true, but it's not true. Because a big part of this is also really catering to the parents. You have to understand that parents, and I don't mean to, disagree with you.
No, please do. That's the whole point of this podcast, is getting real answers to these type of questions.
It's a dual mode these days, because parents really have choices, and a lot of parents can feel disconnected from their kids. It's not like it used to be. When I went to camp as a kid, I wrote 2 letters to my parents. They weren't interested. They weren't on top of me. It was fine, as long whatever. Today, the parents are very involved in their kids. We have a camp mother who works, I can't even tell you how many hours just communicating back and forth with parents. And we take every concern very, very seriously. For example, I mean, obviously homesickness is one thing. Right. A girl is unhappy with another girl in her bunk. A girl is unhappy with her bed placement. A girl is unhappy.
So you don't just brush it off and say, okay, kids are kids. Whatever.
We keep notes. Sure. We keep files. We keep we do write-ups on every kid every year. We communicate with the parents on an ongoing basis. If you're a parent in my camp and you have a concern, we will get back to you within 4 hours or 5 hours.
Wow.
We don't do it during the day, because then we're with, our camp mothers with the kids.
Right.
But she spends, 7-8 hours at night emailing or calling and just telling the parents, yes, I went looking at your kid and she's doing better, or there is a concern here we are dealing with, this is what we're doing. It's become much more involved. A camp mother she used to put a Band-Aid on you and give you a kiss goodnight. It's not like that anymore. Now she's such an integral part of the camp.
Which is actually, it's interesting from a technology perspective. Back in the day, when I was going to camp, and I went to Camp Raleigh for a couple of years, I went to Maggid Avram for a summer. But, you get to speak to your parents once a week on the one phone that you'd have to wait, and then you hear over the, what is it called? The
PA system.
The PA system. You'd hear, Nachum Kligman, please come, you have a phone call. Please come to the Boys HC. Nachum, can you have a phone call, please? Right. And then you'd run over there and you speak to your parents for 30 seconds. Right. Hi, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. And also, if you wanted to go to the canteen first, you had to write a postcard telling your parents how much fun you were having.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And then you'd give it to your counselor, and they'd mail it out for you. But, I mean, you've been doing this for 24 years now. Yeah. How has technology improved, made more difficult, made more easy? I mean, you're talking about emails. Parents now from their phones can email you, but how does that, I mean, that I can imagine you're getting 100 emails a night. That can affect actually running the camp properly while still trying to please the parents.
Parents will send
thousands. And do kids have their own cell phones?
Parents will send thousands of emails during a week. And we print them all out, and we give them out to the kids on a daily basis. So that's like a full-time job for accounts. I mean, we used to have faxes, but now nobody faxes, and everybody just emails. So we print them out and stuff like that. Part of what happens in camp is we're trying to disconnect them.
Right, that was part of the camp experience, is that you're disconnecting.
Exactly. And technology has made it much more difficult, because they want their phones and they want their, PlayStations, and they want all the other stuff, and we're not allowing them to have it. So there's definitely a disconnect over there, and the kids feel it. They really want I don't want to use the word addicted, but that's what they're used to during the year.
Right, 10 months, anytime they want to make a phone call, they want to text their friend.
So that's a challenge in today's world. And if you tell a kid, listen, it's really going to be worth it for you when you're sitting next to another girl to actually, and I don't mean to be sarcastic or facetious, to actually speak to this girl rather than just text her. A lot of times it falls on deaf ears, and it takes a while until they wean themselves off it. But that's the reason that we won't allow any technology. I mean, if I let cell phones and all the other stuff, I don't need to run a camp.
Right,
let
you
them
just sit in a room and
in the room and let them just look at their screens, and that'll be the end of it. Like all us adults do.
Right. That was a sarcastic laugh.
No, it wasn't. No, it's unfortunately very true.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a lot more to say on that, but I won't.
No, because actually, it can maybe a topic for another podcast.
Oh
later.
wow! I can't wait for that. That was sarcastic. I would like to talk about. There's a lot to talk about, but let's just focus on this.
Okay. So, how many pools do you have now in the camp?
Pools?
Yes, I know you have more than one.
How did we jump from technology
because we were talking
to pools?
we were talking about you had a day camp and you built a pool.
Oh, I
see. Now we're back. Now you're at a sleepaway camp. Now you have a beautiful campus. First of all, where is it? It's in Pennsylvania.
We're in Rileyville, the great little tiny burg of Rileyville, Pennsylvania, which is a little bit outside of Honesdale. We're about 20 minutes out of Honesdale.
And you own the campus this time. No one's selling to the Home Depot.
Yeah, unless the Home Depot wants to buy it from me for $32 million.
And if Home Depot is listening, that is something they may entertain.
Yes, of course. Except that there's a Home Depot in Honesdale, so they're not coming here. Yeah, it's an 85-acre camp that we actually rebuilt after we bought it from these guys. And I was so anxious to get into something, I didn't realize, the state of disrepair. First thing we did was we actually burnt down all the bunks.
Oh, that must have been fun.
Yeah, well, not for me. And we rebuilt everything from scratch. So most of the camp is rebuilt from scratch.
How many bunks do you have?
Now we have 30 bunks.
30 bunks. Wow. How many kids do you have normally?
We usually have between 400 and 500.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And how big is the staff?
I don't know. We have probably about between 150 and 200 staff.
So 150, 200 staff, that's phenomenal. That every kid's getting their proper attention, getting what they need to
and there are
thrive, and
right.
Their activities, whether it's drama or music, or I can imagine, as you said, bringing out the best in the kids. So you need to have a lot of different activities and different things for each kid. All right, so the campus, you have about 30 bunks. What else makes up the campus? Fields,
pools. We have a beautiful lake where we have a speedboat. And we have a banana boat, and we have a water trampoline and an iceberg, and we have a triple corkscrew slide in the pool.
So how many pools do you actually have?
So we have 2 heated pools. One of them was there when we bought it, and we put in another one.
Right.
That was really cool. That was we put in this massive pool. Compared to the pool that we put in the day camp, that was like a bathtub. This was super cool. We had a whole huge crew coming. It was very, very cool. And we have a high ropes course that we put in years ago. We redid all the roads. We have a go-kart track, and we have a roller rink, which now we use more actually for indoor-outdoor soccer. It's become more popular as that. Mm-hmm. We have lots of baseball fields and tennis court, and everything is lighted up. And Machanaim, of course, which you have to have. And
what's Machanaim?
It's a girls' dodgeball. It's a lot of fun, actually. It makes a lot of sense.
What's the difference between a girls' dodgeball and a boys' dodgeball?
The girls' dodgeball, it actually allows more girls to stay in. With dodgeball, when you're out, you could sit out for an hour and twiddle your thumbs. Here, most of the girls stay in. Actually makes more sense. And every possible type of sports field we have a wonderful arts and crafts program. We have a game room, and I mentioned the ropes course.
Yeah, canteen.
Canteen, of course. And last year, I put in a mud obstacle course.
A mud obstacle course?
A mud obstacle course.
Are you kidding me?
Which many people told me was going to be a big flop because, Bais Yaakov Girls are not going to get into the mud.
Right.
And just play with, and have all types of different obstacles as they're running through. luckily, I was right and they were wrong. These kids had the time of their lives.
Wow.
They could not wait. This was the most popular activity. We're trying to expand it this year, but the weather is not really cooperating. We hope we're going to get in on time, be able to add to it. Our plan is to add to it every year. I can't get enough of it. It's just crazy.
That's also trusting your gut,
Yeah, I don't really listen to anybody. Maybe I should have sometimes, but no, it's like you have to know what you feel. Like I went online this week and I saw another camp. It's not a Jewish camp. I think it's actually a Christian camp.
Right.
They have an amazing amount of stuff in it. So I contacted them. I said, look, I'm a Jewish frum girls camp. We're not
competing.
Would you mind if I came down to see your stuff? So that's like, if you're a director and you get a phone call or an email from another director, you're in heaven because, of course, as long as it's not going to affect my bottom line, of course I'll share with you. Sure, I want to show what I have off and let you salivate a little bit.
Right. Plus, I think, from one camp director to another, you know what it takes to go through to running a camp.
That's
and you have that camaraderie, I guess, together, that because it's, there's only so many camp directors out there because of the amount of work and effort and time that goes into such a project.
So he emailed me today. He was away for a week. I sent him an email about 2 weeks ago. I just got an email this morning.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm so sorry I was away, blah, blah, blah. I just got your email. Of course, I would love to talk to you about it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So I'll be making a trip out there and see what he's got.
And how else do you get, that's fantastic, looking at other camps out there, but where else do you generate ideas?
So a lot of it comes from, internal. We talk to the girls a lot, what they're into, what they want.
Right.
What appeals to them. A lot of it is, is really asking them, and we fine tune a lot of this stuff within the camp itself. And you have to keep with the times. A big part of this is also youth. So a lot of our staff, we're turning over some staff now, and this is by design. We're trying to get in, younger people in higher positions to really, appeal to today's kids. Because all they want to do is sit home and do nothing.
Right.
That actually is our biggest foe. It's not the other camps. All the camps, thank God, are doing well.
Right.
The biggest foe is I want to sit home. I don't want to go to any camp. That's what the kids want to do today.
I mean, it's
crazy.
That is crazy.
It's crazy. And the parents are not going to fight with them. And they say to themselves, look, if my girl wants to stay home, I'm going to save the money. And why shouldn't I? But then a parent realizes after 2 days,
staying home on their
I
phone.
can't stay at home. So then we'll get a lot of phone calls. Help me. Okay.
It's funny. I think you hear the same thing coming from the yeshivas in Israel.
Yeah.
Where, used to be going to Israel for the year was, yes, please, the kids want to go get away from their parents and spend the year in Israel. Now it's like, the kids just want to stay home, want to be with their friends, and they don't want to go away for the year.
They don't want to do anything. And, thank God, the kids still love camp. Camp, once they get there, they love it.
Right.
But some of them just, they just don't want to go.
I mean, it could be, you could say that camp today is more important for today's youth. Getting out, shutting off the phones, getting out in the fresh air, running around is probably more important to, camp is not just about having fun now, which it is, but just from it's for the nefesh or for the neshama.
And I'm glad you're bringing that up because I really want to make this point, and this has been my rallying cry for the last 2 or 3 years. We live in a world today where there are a lot of outside influences, and there are a lot of organizations that are dealing with a lot of kids that have gone off the derech. I cannot tell you how important camp is to keep kids on the derech. Because if they have a summer where they're in a good mood and they're with people who are happy and are frum, and these kids are around these role models, and then a kid down the line is, faced with choices and challenges later on, and she can, do a recall of something that her counselor or her director or her arts and crafts counselor or her waitress or anybody else did that had an effect on her and keeps her on the straight and narrow. That's the big payoff. So I say, rather than, wait until it's too late, send your kids to camp. Put them in a proper environment. Put them in the right sviva. Let them have that simcha sachayim that they may be missing in school, but they don't have an opportunity during the year because of pressures or whatever else. And this really will stay with them forever. So I feel this way because I want the kids to come to camp. Right. But really, seriously speaking, camp today is more important than it's ever been for the future of Klal Yisrael. Wow. Because which other place do you have a chance to be frum and to have fun in an upbeat atmosphere without the pressures that everybody faces? You don't have to dress fancy. You don't have to do anything outside of just be yourself in a frum environment surrounded by 150 role models. That's amazing. It really is.
Truthfully, you should be speaking at Torah Sorah or Agudas Yisrael.
All right. I'm there. Well, now that I'm doing this podcast, the sky is the limit.
The sky is the right.
And I'm not discounting in any way, the good work that the Kiruv camps are going. My plea is...
But the Kiruv camps, Bais Yaakov Girls not going to a Kiruv camp.
Right. That's true. But we want to...
I said, this is prevention. I mean,
right. This is so much more important, and we are appealing more to the staff who feel an urge to want to give back something. And I keep saying, if you want to give back something, give back where you really need to be appreciated. Not that you're going to get a kid who comes from Arkansas who you're going to teach this girl to maybe make a bracha. How about the kid that's, that needs you to remain from and that you can do so much more for them now before it's too late.
Interesting, which actually leads me to another question.
Oh.
How often do the kids interact with their counselors after camp? Like, camp ends and that's it, or do they still maintain relationships with their counselors?
Right, so that's a very good question. That really depends on the counselors, and that really depends on the kids. I don't really have good data on that to let you know. I know that there are a lot of kids out there who tell me that they maintain relationships with their counselors, and then there are those that don't. I don't know. I don't know how to go.
But you do the sort of reunions in the winter.
We do a reunion. We started an email list a few years ago. This year we went to an email, like a constant contact type of newsletter that we give out every week. It goes out to
every week during the year.
Yeah, every week during the year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The only problem with that is that we're not really reaching enough of the younger kids because they're not really going on these things. So the older kids are all clued in and they all keep in touch with each other.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out, more how to reach the younger kids because I don't blame the parents. They don't want their kids on the internet.
Right.
We spoke about this for a long time before we even did this, but we felt that, we got
Well, you don't even have a website.
We don't have a website because of that. We don't want them, but this, we felt that if we sent out an email and they got it once a week on a Friday afternoon, it was fine. We asked Shilas about it.
Right.
We certainly don't want to be in a position where we're going to encourage kids to do things that their parents don't want.
Of course
but
not.
We got the okay from the parents. We sent out, every parent had to sign a permission.
Just to get an email newsletter.
Just to get an email newsletter. Right. I'm not going to put a parent in a position where, oh my gosh, my kid wants to go on and you're putting this undue pressure on me and I don't really believe on it. So we believe in it. So
right.
We didn't do it that way. We didn't send it to the kids. We sent it to the parents. And, we made it very clear. If you're uncomfortable with this, it's no problem.
Just delete it and...
No, we won't send it to you.
You won't even send it, but the feedback was...
Yeah. Those parents that are more concerned actually will send it to the parents' email. They'll print it off for the kids and stuff like that. So there are ways, it's very touchy because you got to be very careful. But we want to communicate with the kids during the year. So, you can't call them,
Right.
And you're not going to keep sending out letters to them. They don't even read letters
right.
anymore. So.
You guys have, you have tennis.
Can I tell you one quick story?
Tell me.
A funny story because you were contrasting between the day camp and the sleepaway camp. So this young man comes over to me and he says, I got to tell you this story. He was about 21, 22. I said, okay. He says, I was dating a girl and we were schmoozing and I asked her, by the way, which camp did you go to? So she says, I went to Raninu.
Right.
And he says, so did I. She didn't know that we used to be a day camp, even though it was boys and girls separate, but we had, 250 boys and 250 girls.
That's so funny.
She had no idea because she only went to, Camp Raninu for girls. So she's looking at him like he's from Mars. And he knows that she had no idea that there was ever a Raninu day camp.
Uh-huh.
So he's just playing her.
That's
he's
really
saying,
funny.
And he's saying, no, really, I went to Raninu. She says, what are you talking about? How could you have gone to Raninu? Anyway, so she finally told her, but he couldn't wait to tell me this.
Was he in my bunk?
He wasn't in your bunk, and he didn't end up marrying her.
Oh.
But it's a funny story anyway. That's
what
everybody wants to know. You're the first one that wants to know if he was in your bunk.
And actually, it reminded me of a question I did want to ask you before closing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you had any second-generation kids in the camp?
We now are getting second-generation kids. One of the things I should tell you, by the way, it's very interesting, is we've started an unofficial shidduch service.
Really?
There are many, and I say this also, when I have girls that are like back from seminary and stuff like that, and they say, I don't really want to go to camp, I'm too old. I said, you're missing the big picture. Because if you come to camp, you're exposing yourself to 800 shatchanim. Because not only are all the kids looking at you and saying, oh my gosh, my brother, my uncle, my this, my that, I wish you would be my sister-in-law, like that.
Right.
All the older people are looking at you and they see you in a light, you're letting your hair down, they see who you really are, they can be much more honest about who you are and what you need and what you're looking for. And we've had tens upon tens, if not hundreds, of shidduchim that have happened through the years.
Really?
Of Camp Raninu. Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
I had another one 2 weeks ago. She was a head counselor by us, and there was a girl in camp she was crazy about, and she had a brother, and they hooked up, and they got engaged 2 weeks ago.
That's fantastic.
It happens all the time.
That's beautiful. That's a great way to end this podcast, actually, on a high note. That's fantastic. If you're looking for a shidduch,
come to Camp Raninu.
That's
right.
And listen, Tuli, it's been absolutely fantastic. I thank you. I know we could go on and on. Maybe we'll do this again.
All right.
You brought up some very important issues should be delved into. And but for now, we'll call it an end to this podcast. But thank you for joining us and the Frum Entrepreneur.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for listening to the Frum Entrepreneur Podcast with Nahum Kligman. We hope you learned something valuable and will share this with your friends. For show notes, archives of previous episodes, and more information to help you start and grow your business, please visit our website, www.frumentrepreneur.com. Listen, learn, be Matzliach.